Hello, Angie. What a great time to be talking about the grain market. Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Got some news this morning, I guess we can talk about, but glad to be here. First day back from vacation, so be gentle if you could.
Okay, I promise I will. Can you see my charts, Angie?
Sure can.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is just run through the grains, and you give me what you're seeing fundamentally compared to, what I'm seeing technically, and, I see if the narratives are, running together at all.
I
How's
like
that
it.
sound?
Sounds
Okay.
good to me.
All right, so let's start with the wheat. Okay, so
Mhm.
and let's go to a daily. So to me, I know it was a long time coming, right? Thought
Mhm.
it might have been here, thought it might have been here. Finally here, this was pretty impulsive. So we've had this pullback here. What would support my technical bullish case in the wheat market besides perhaps Russia not cooperating with the grain deal and letting Ukraine get their wheat,
Yeah.
be able to export it?
Well, I think that's the biggest story in wheat that we can't ignore is what's going to happen with the Black Sea grain corridor and what we're going to see happen, specifically more so with Russian exports going forward, I think, than Ukrainian exports or what the Black Sea grain deal allows or doesn't allow. With Ukraine over the last year and a half, we've spent a ton of time really working on secondary sources, secondary options when it comes to exports. So the Black Sea corridor isn't as vital to movement as what it was a year ago, but it's still going to kind of provide that headline volatility just because it gives us something that we can trade on. In addition to that, though, we have a story out of China that we're really kind of watching where they had some pretty significant rainfall happen right ahead of wheat harvest in one of their main producing provinces. And
Yeah.
that probably caused some problems when it came to about 20 to 30 million metric tons worth of wheat production. And so what does that mean going forward? China's kind of this sleeping bear to a certain extent. And I think they're the support that's underneath all of these market sectors. But, when it comes to wheat specifically with the damage to their crop and, watching what that could mean for imports going forward, that could have a huge impact on global market structure.
Okay. That makes sense. I believe, with their economy weak, the last thing they need is to have problems with food
Yeah.
for their population, right? Because people
Mhm.
are already probably disgruntled. Anything in South America we should be looking for in the
Not as much
the wheat?
not as much in wheat. I mean, Brazil has really expanded their production over the last couple of years just because higher prices have incentivized them tossing some additional wheat in. But when it comes down to it, their exports are going to really prioritize soybeans and corn. So from an overall standpoint, they aren't going to really impact the global market. But we will be watching a recovery or a hopeful recovery in production out of Argentina this winter or this year for them. It's their fall or they're heading into winter down that way, or they're in winter now. And so they've gotten a wheat crop planted and they've had a lot more rain than what we'd seen last year. So there's value there, but then we're also watching what El Nino could do with Australian wheat production and some other things. So there's
Okay.
several different stories at play that could really keep this market on its toes for the next several months, to be honest.
Okay. Australia could be a big story, right? Because
Australia, yep.
we're already into the next crop for us is winter wheat, right?
Yeah, we will. Once we harvest grain here in the US, we'll plant winter wheat. Well, in Australia, they've had their wheat is planted and they'll be looking to harvest that as we enter into winter here. So how the weather plays out here over the next few months will really have big implications or big impacts on their production. And Australia's had 3 record wheat crops in a row, kind of been one of those quiet stories. La Nina tends to impact weather, pretty poorly across much of the world. But Australia has been one of the beneficiaries when it came to above normal rainfall and somewhat benign temperatures.
I see. So Australia could have not enough rain. So did you build that silo yet?
Right. I'll convert a barn over to flat storage if I need to.
Okay, well, start stockpiling. All right, let's move to the beans. Much more of a weather market. When the
Yeah.
Midwest had those big rains and floods, seemed that it supported bean prices. It was probably too much rain for the beans, and the corn loved it. So can you explain the action on that weather market? What drove up beans?
Yeah.
Um,
So, I mean, what we saw to start the growing season is, traditionally a dry May is welcome because it gives us the opportunity to get much of the crop planted. Sorry,
yeah.
it's summer break. So we have a kid that wants to do something at the door. But
Oh, okay.
so we were able to get most of the crop planted and everything. Dale, one second for me, please. Show
Sure.
everyone the chart.
Okay. So the crop is calling Angie, and she's has to jump on her tractor for a little bit. Anyway, guys, so I rated in relative strength beans, wheat, then corn. But even corn looks like
All
it's
right, I
okay.
apologize for that.
Oh,
So
that's okay.
so yeah, so we started the year with dry weather that was really beneficial, but as we rolled into June, it continued to be dry, which really messed up, or really kind of created some production concerns about what we would see happen there and how, what we could see from a yield standpoint. We then had a huge surprise from the USDA at the end of June where they cut acres by about 4 million acres. So that really kind of cut into production potential by about 200 million bushels, and created some real concern over what we would see happen. The USDA then subsequently cut export demand pretty significantly that helped to offset a lot of that cut. And so now we wait to see what happens as we work our way into August. Soybeans are a crop that are made in August. And so
Okay.
whether or not it rains is going to have a huge impact. The USDA is currently forecasting record yield. And so there's a lot of time left in that market structure to really kind of see how this plays out. In addition, China demand, everyone's just really optimistic. I think my favorite thing about, poor China data is that everyone kind of continues to insist that we're going to see stimulus, and that's going to help really support Chinese demand. We have seen some of that. So there's a lot of
Okay.
things happening in soybeans right now that have really been, kept the market on its toes, and that's going to continue. I mean, we have no idea what production is going to look like this year, really until we get into September.
Yeah, maybe we're going to have it's not going to get the rain because of super Grand El Nino.
Yeah, I mean,
Is
it
that
does. That
possible?
is one thing that we will be watching is the forecast does look like it could warm up and dry out a bit as we work into August, and so that could have a big influence. But we get decent rain, and if the Brazilian crop is able to get started relatively okay, then things will be different. But that's really going to keep a risk premium in this market. We don't have any room for any type of production error or any type of production hiccup. And so that's really going to keep us supported. I think we'll probably trade between 13 and 14 for quite some time on the November board, just until we get a better feel for where we're heading market direction wise.
Looks bullish to me, and we get through last week's resistance, this candle.
Oh yeah.
Also, it could set up a 3 drive at new highs over $17 anyway. That looks technically the strongest, followed by, wheat and then
Yes.
corn. Any hope for a turn in the corn market down here around $5? We had a nice little bounce.
Well, I think corn's kind of similar. I mean, if you're going to see wheat and soybeans stay supported on different factors in the market, then I think corn's going to kind of get some support just simply because it's very difficult to see corn just kind of go off on its own path. But from a fundamental standpoint, corn really doesn't have a big story unless we see something develop either like a huge increase in potential Chinese demand back to where, they're close to 30 million metric tons of corn imports versus their current forecast of 17 million metric ton. Or if we were to see, August turn off dry and run into some sort of production issue, then corn could potentially have a story. But from an overall standpoint, Corn is one of those crops that a lot of folks really like to grow across the United States and even around the world for the most part. And as we continue to modernize our agricultural practices and things of that nature, production will increase in different places. And so
Yeah.
we've just seen that the supply of corn globally is higher than what we've seen before. I mean, outside of the US, and the US looks like it'll have a pretty solid crop this year if weather cooperates. So, corn has less fundamental incentive to really kind of rally, but it could see it if we see soybeans and wheat kind of pick up on a story.
Well, deer and cat happened to have they had very weak patterns up until June, and they've
Mhm.
come to life. So there must be, maybe these prices are putting money into farmers' pockets and they could be buying equipment. Do you see
I think
that?
that Yeah, I think that helped. I think you saw the big time rally in the market structure. But in addition to that, I feel like everyone has really kind of transitioned into a more optimistic feeling about just about everything. But when it comes down to it, Deere, Mosaic, like you're showing, any of these agricultural companies, they're global as well. And they're heavily involved in global expansion when it comes to,
Well, this is
production.
fertilizer. This is
Yeah.
fertilizer, right? And
Yeah.
potash. They have weak chart patterns. So maybe that's what's good for farmers, because the biggest complaint a year ago was the cost of fertilizer. Now
Hmm.
it came down here on my board on the stock price. Have fertilizer prices dropped along with the share value of these fertilizer producers?
Yeah.
Or is it
Fertilizer
a or is
prices.
it a or is it a bunch of duty?
No, fertilizer prices have dropped off pretty pretty significantly over the last year. Especially we've seen just a real decline. Supply availability has been helpful. We'd seen a run up in fertilizer prices, prior even to the invasion of Ukraine, just
Yeah.
on some different tariffs and trade practices that the US had put into place. And then of course we had the invasion. But then once we realized that we had, relatively healthy supplies around the world and could really offset some of those reductions in supply availability with availability of, or with efficiency in farming practices, it just kind of helped to calm everyone down, and now prices for inputs have gotten back to a more normal level.
So is your group still worried about the dollar, and shouldn't a weaker dollar be supportive for grains? Or
The
it
weaker
doesn't
dollar is
matter?
supported for grains. Yeah, and I think that's part of what we've seen from a support standpoint here over the last week or so in corn and wheat too, is that we've seen the dollar fall off, and a lot of people have been bearish
They're
on dollar direction. And so, yeah, I
Yeah,
think we're kind of watching that to see what happens, because hopefully that'll make us a little bit more cost competitive. Right now, the U.S. is the
right.
most expensive supplier of goods, grains in the world. And so if we do
Because
see the
of
dollar get
dollar
a bit
strength,
weaker,
because the dollar really hasn't been, dollar's come down quite a bit in
no,
the last year.
we're just expensive because we're expensive. We have a domestic market structure that is strong. Like the ethanol demand is strong, soybean crush demand is strong. When it comes down to it, when we have tight supplies, as we've seen the last couple of years, we tend to see our domestic market, the cash market, strengthen. And if you run into a situation where outside producers like Brazil, Ukraine, Russia, any of them are able to offer it cheaper into the world, the US is all right with kind of giving up some of that export business, or has been. And so that's why
Yeah.
we've sat here and been a little bit more expensive. It starts to matter when it feels like we have stabilized supply, as we're seeing in corn right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll continue to watch it.
Okay. So do you remember when they had open outcry on the Board of Trade? Didn't didn't during this month coming up, when we were in a bull market in beans in particular, that you could see outside from the trading floor. And when it started to rain, they would take the beans down, but the trade was by the rain. Do you think we could
Right?
be
Yeah.
looking at, now, I guess if you're in the Midwest, you could just look out your own window, not the trading floor window. but rain breaks the
It's
way to rain breaks the way to trade beans this summer.
right. Yeah. I mean, it's still something we joke about quite often. Oh, it's raining in
Oh,
Chicago. The market's going to be
everyone laughs
trading
at
lower.
all my old tricks, Angie.
Right. Yeah. We
You
still
know,
talk about that quite a bit,
uh,
but yeah,
all
it's
right.
definitely something I remember. The skilling forecast was always an important thing.
Yeah. So, I just want to, show your website. And how's your new business, which isn't so new anymore?
Right. Two
How
years
are,
old now, doing
it's
well.
amazing.
It's
Yeah, it's
crazy.
amazing how fast things really just pass you by. And this is where you could reach Angie. Here's her website. So she helps farmers hedge their risk. Is there ever a time not to hedge?
No, not that
No?
I can think of. I mean, there's been times where it would work well if you're lucky, but
Okay, so it's about
I'm not
luck, and
lucky.
you don't gamble with your business.
Yeah, I have
It's not a
definitely
spec
learned.
trade. You use the
Exactly.
markets for what they were
Yes.
built for hedging.
Hmm. Yes,
Okay, so
100%.
are people doing a lot of hedging at say these prices in beans?
In beans, we have been making some trades. Yeah, we've had some farmers adding some sales up this way. We've been up here before, so it cleaned out some of the open orders that we had put in place, when we were below $13. So we've seen some of that. Corn slowed down pretty significantly just simply because we've been much higher. We had a lot more in the way of sales put on when we were up towards $6. And so we're just kind of sitting here waiting on corn. We're in the middle of wheat harvest right now here. So we do have some folks getting ready to add to their wheat
That's the
sales
spring
as
wheat
harvest
that's coming
progresses.
in.
Soft red winter here in the state of
Okay.
Michigan,
Oh
white and
wow.
red actually, but yeah,
And it
we're the
and it
fun wheat, cakes and cookies.
oh okay. So see what she knows. She even takes it to the kitchen.
Right,
So
exactly.
so Angie, do you trade at all?
Mhm. Well, I manage physical positions for my
Okay.
customers basically. So
All
yeah,
right.
I don't do much
Okay.
trade. I just told you I'm horribly
Right.
unlucky.
All right.
I am more of a cash trader than a spec trader, and I like to be able to have. I don't want to have my position influence my opinion in a wrong way as well, and so
Yeah.
I
Talk in your book.
oversee.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. So I oversee the physical movement of about 10 million bushels across the state of Michigan. And that is, we manage spreads, basis, and futures in doing that.
Okay. Well, I think that this is one of the most overlooked sectors in the market going forward. I like that hat.
I designed it. You can buy it.
Oh, okay.
I'll order you one and send it to you, Dale, since I've been on the show for a while now.
Oh, and that hoodie looks good. Yeah, I'll advertise you in California.
I
Uh,
like it.
but but Angie, really, are you excited about this summer
Yeah,
and
I mean
fall?
it's been a fun summer. It's been a great I feel like we're finally taking off. I feel like we're getting our footing business wise. I feel like that's very valuable to bring this cash market insight to what we're doing. And
Yeah,
so, summer wise too, I live in Michigan. So there's no time better than July and August in Michigan, honestly. Like I wish I could bottle it. It's amazing.
beautiful
So
weather,
yeah,
you
it's a
mean?
great summer.
Yeah, beautiful weather while the rest of the country is cooking. What's going to be
Yeah.
the high of the day there where you
I
live?
think we're
Is it-
upper 70s, 77, 78, maybe low 80s this week. It'll be a little bit cooler than normal, they say, but
Okay.
absolutely gorgeous. Can't complain.
All right. Well, okay. Uh, fix up my guest room.
I will do
I'm in
that. Yeah.
110 today here.
Oh,
So
no.
yeah,
I couldn't do that. We get to sleep with our windows open and everything here, so no
yeah,
complaints on my
it-
side.
yeah. Well, you know what? It got to the point where I couldn't do, you know, December through April either.
Right.
The
Yeah.
opposite, the
That's
opposite
a
extreme.
yeah.
Yeah.
So and when the winter time, I won't complain or I will complain and I can come visit you.
All
So
right.
yeah, no, it'll be a fun summer. We've
All
got all
right.
kinds of stuff happening.
Okay. And if you want an update on the dollar, welcome to join you guys again. A lot of people are calling this a major breakdown.
Yeah.
Um, so we'll see. I appreciate being able to marry up the fundies with what I'm seeing in my charts, Angie. I knew.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
And sorry for
yeah.
the child outburst, but
I
school,
no
I'm
one
not
even.
counting, but school's 6 weeks away.
Okay. All right, Angie Setzer, everyone, and you can find her on Twitter at the Goddess of Grain. And I really think this is an exciting area of the commodity market. I think it's going to be part of, people that believe in the super cycle in commodities. It's going to be agriculture. So Angie's a good person for having intelligence gathering on the market. You can't know everything. You find smart people. And I'm glad we found you, Angie. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, have a great summer and bumper crop for you and all your clients.
Thank you.
All right, Angie Setzer, everybody. You can join the team in 15, 17 minutes on the morning edge. Don't just count your pips, count your blessings. Yen is heading higher, so that was not a bad idea. Yeah, so have 60 in it. Remember 141, Blake's there too for a sale. And what do we have in the S&Ps? Down 5. All right, everyone have a great day trading. Don't just count your pips, count your blessings, and we'll be back with you tomorrow on Turnaround Tuesday. See you guys.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with Forex Analytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.